All right, Shalom Israel, Shalom. We went into part one, going into the second Exodus. Now we're going to finish up by going into the second wilderness. All right, Revelation chapter 21, and let me pull it up on here. Revelation 21:1. So we went into what ancient Egypt was. We went into what modern Egypt is, how we got delivered out of ancient Egypt, how we're going to get delivered out of modern day Egypt. You understand? And then we showed you how we're going to get beamed up in a chariot. That's going to be the form of our second Exodus. We're going to be above that firmament for about an hour, and then we're going to get beamed back down out of these chariots. And where we're going to get beamed back down in? We're going to get beamed back down into the wilderness. That's what we're showing you right now. Revelation chapter 21 and 1.
And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband.
Right, so the first new heaven and the new earth is not an actual new heaven or new earth, because the Lord said in Ecclesiastes, one generation cometh and another generation goeth, but the earth abideth forever. All right, and a new heaven, a new earth represents new rulership, new dominion, new sovereignty over the earth, setting up a new people to govern this earth in righteousness, man. Because the Lord sets up who governs the earth. Let me show you that real quick, because people think we're going to vote Wisdom of Solomon 6:1. People think that we're going to choose, that we choose who's going to govern the earth. Oh, I'm going to do a vote, or I should vote again, and oh man, my vote doesn't count. Yeah, you're right, your vote doesn't count, because the Most High sets up who's in charge. All right, we're going to start at Wisdom of Solomon 6:1 and show you that.
Wisdom of Solomon chapter 6 verse 1. Hear therefore, O ye kings, and understand, learn, ye that be judges of the ends of the earth. Give ear, you that rule the people, and glory in the multitude of nations. For power is given you of the Lord, and sovereignty from the highest, who shall try your works, and search out your counsels.
Right, kings and judges, power is given unto them to rule the earth, to rule the heavens and the earth from the highest, from the Most High. That's why Daniel 4 says he sets up over it even the basis of men. All right, so the Lord sets up men to govern the earth, and that new heaven and the new earth is going to be established by the kings and princes and governors of the nation of Israel, with Yahweh Shah himself being the chief king and David on the earth. All right, now from there, let's go to the book of let's go back to Revelation 21. All right, to show you about us getting beamed out. Oh, actually, let's go to Isaiah 52, because it showed you. He said he saw that holy city coming down out of heaven. Let's show you that that holy city is not an actual holy city, with buildings and a damn plumbing system and windows and a skyscraper with, a mailbox, and it's not talking about an actual city with streets. That holy city coming down is a nation of people, which are the elect of the nation of Israel. They're going to get beamed down back on the earth, and we're known as the holy city because we're a people before we're a place. Let's go to that in the book of Isaiah chapter 52. Let me pull it up on here real quick. Isaiah chapter, so the people can see. Isaiah chapter 52 and 2. Wait, Isaiah 52. Slakia, Israel. All right, go on and read that.
Isaiah chapter 52 verse 2. Shake thy
52 and 1. Slakia.
52 and 1. Awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion. Put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city.
The what?
The holy city. For henceforth there shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and the unclean.
Right, so awake, awake, like the Lord said in Romans 13 and 11. Awake, you understand? All right. It says, what did it say in Romans 13 and 11?
Now it's high time.
Yeah, awake. I can't remember off the top of the head. You're going to read it though. Romans 13 and 11. But now it's high time to awake out of sleep. Something like that. Romans 13 and 11.
Romans chapter 13 and 11. And that knowing the time,
right,
that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when when we believe.
That's what it means to awake. Awake out of these false philosophies and out of these false religions and damn nationalities, and put on thy strength, man. First, put on your beautiful garments, which is just these commandments. This wisdom and knowledge. That's the beautiful garments. O Jerusalem, the holy city. Where that holy city? Because an actual city can't put on garments, man. And your strength is Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. For henceforth there shall no more come unto thee the uncircumcised and unclean. All right, bring it up.
Never mind.
All right, go to Luke. Luke chapter 17. Another precept to show you that Israel is that holy city that John saw coming out of heaven. Luke chapter 17 and 20, right? Luke 17 and 20. Let's pull that up. So we're showing you precepts about that holy city getting beamed back down on the earth out of these chariots. Because people, I believe Jehovah Witnesses teach that an actual city is coming down. It's symbolic.
Luke chapter 17, verse 20. And when he was demanded of the Pharisees when the kingdom of God should come, he answered them and said, the kingdom of God cometh not with observation.
Meaning you can't just sit down and wait around for the kingdom of heaven to come. You understand? You have to put in the work. You have to build up yourself and go out there in the highways and byways and build up your body and build up the nation of Israel and restore this temple as in the days of old. You can't just sit around and wait. Go on.
Neither shall they say, lo here or lo there. For, behold, the kingdom of God is within you.
So we are that holy city. Israel is that kingdom. And that's what Yahushua was teaching the people. Alright, so let's go back to Revelation 21 one more time. Revelation chapter 21. And let's read 1.
Revelation chapter 21, verse 1.
2.
Verse 2. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband.
Right, because we're espoused and married to Yahushua. And we're going to come down out those chariots. Now from there, let's go to the book of Jeremiah 31 and 1. All right, now we're getting down to it. Jeremiah chapter 31 and 1. All right, getting into these wilderness precepts. Where it's going to be at, what's going to take place. All right, this is where it gets interesting.
Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 1. At the same time, said the Lord, will I be the God of all the families of Israel, and they shall be my people.
All right, all Israel.
Thus saith the Lord, the people which were left of the sword found grace in the wilderness.
In the what?
In the wilderness, even Israel, when I went to cause him to rest.
Right, so the people that survived martial law, Jacob's trouble, and narrowly escaped the destruction, they went and found grace in the wilderness, meaning the time period for you to get yourself together and get down with this new world order, a righteous new world order. All right, that's what's going to take place in the wilderness. All right, and we're going to get beamed back down in the wilderness, where the Lord is going to cause us to rest for a moment of time. From there, let's go to the book of Micah chapter 7 and 14. All right, so there is a second wilderness. The wilderness is not going to be South America like certain people say. You're not going to get beamed down in South America, rest for a minute, get beamed back up on the chariots, go land in Israel, and build the kingdom up in Israel. No. All right, it don't work like that. The wilderness is not going to be in South America. This isn't the wilderness now. The wilderness will be where it's going to show you. Let's read it. Micah the 7th chapter and the 14th verse. That's why we're going to paint the picture through these precepts. All right, you should understand by these precepts we're bringing out. It should be without a shadow of a doubt. Micah 7 and 14. Actually, start at 13.
Notwithstanding, the land shall be desolate because of them that dwell therein, for the fruits of their doing.
Right, because that whole, not only is America going to be laid desolate, certain nations are going to be made desolate. Certain nations are actually not going to get hit with bombs, but the majority of the earth is going to be destroyed, pursuant to Zephaniah the 3rd chapter. All right, it says the whole earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. Paraphrasing it. And what else is going to be laid desolate? That land of Israel. All right, it's going to be a complete desolate wilderness. It's going to be a complete desert land. No vegetation, no growth, no building, no palaces. You understand? All those so-called Jews, they're going to get bombed up out of that land. You can read a more detailed account of that in Ezekiel the 30th chapter about Gog and Magog and that great shaking in the land of Israel. So that whole land of Israel is going to be made a desolate wilderness. We're going to get beamed back down in that desolate land of Israel. And there's a certain spirit on that land, and the Lord is going to restore that land to look like the Garden of Eden again. All right? So the Lord is going to allow us to plant those trees, and there's an actual spirit in that land that I'm going to show you that that land is going to be restored back as it was during the time of Adam. And Yahushua, he himself is going to be in that second wilderness. And David is going to be in that second wilderness. The 12 apostles, governors and judges, and pastors and leaders are going to be in that second wilderness. You're going to have certain men that rebel and die in the second wilderness. All right? It's going to be a lot going on in the second wilderness. All right? So that whole land of Israel, that's where the second wilderness will be at. But the Bible specifies certain locations. All right? It specifies a certain part, mainly the northern part of Israel. And I'm going to show you that through various precepts around like Bashan, Gilead, Mount Carmel, the plain of Sharon and Achor, mainly north of Samaria. That's mainly where the wilderness will be at. But am I making it up? No, I'm showing you through precepts. Let's show you right now, Micah 7 and 14. So I showed you in 13 that this land is going to be laid desolate. Well, let's go to 14.
Feed thy people with thy rod, the flock of thine heritage, which dwell solitarily in the wood. In the midst of Carmel, let them feed in Bashan and Gilead, as in the days of old.
I'll read it again.
Feed thy people with thy rod, the flock of thine heritage.
Right, when it says feed thy people with thy rod, the flock of thine heritage, this word feed, this is going into the second wilderness, because it says which dwell solitarily in the wood, in the midst of Carmel. Let them feed in Bashan and Gilead as in the days of old. So this wood represents the wilderness, and that's where we're going to dwell at. So in the wood or in the wilderness, we're going to be fed with the rod of Yahushua, because we're the flock of his heritage, and Yahushua is a shepherd, and the shepherd is in control of his flock. And when it says feed thy people with thy rod, it doesn't literally mean feed your people with a rod. Like here's sheep. I'll pick up some grass with my stick, and I'll feed you with the stick. No, it don't work like that. It's not literal. Feed thy people means rule over your people. Have power over them. You understand? Rule over them with power. But how do you know that? Even in your Bible, it gives you a footnote. And where it says feed thy people, your Bible should give you a footnote. And it says rule over thy people. And I'm going to go to the Hebrew and show you when it says feed, it means to rule over your people. Because Yahushua in the wilderness, he will be there. We will see him face to face. He's going to rule over us with power. Let's go to the blue letter. I can say shout out to GMS for putting us on the blue letter. Alright, feed. Let's go to Micah the 7th chapter. Alright, Micah the 7th chapter and the 14th verse. Let's go into the Hebrew for this word feed. Alright, bear with me 1 second. So the Hebrew word is ra'ah, as you can see right here. Alright. Now, you can see it says what? In the definition, to pasteurize, to feed, to tend to graze. Those are literal, but it's literally it's a figurative term. Because you can't literally feed somebody with a stick, especially sheep. Alright, they eat grass. To pasture, to tend, to shepherd. Alright, this is the definition we want. A ruler, a teacher. Because Yahushua, he's going to be the ruler of the earth. He's going to rule over Israel, man. He's going to have to teach the Israelites the new covenant. All right. What laws are not going to be there? What laws are going to be there? Because not every law is going to be there. Because you have certain laws that pertain into death. You have certain laws like you're going to stone your fellow Israelite with homosexual if he's a homosexual. But you're not going to have Israelites being a homosexual once that new covenant, once these laws are being taught to them. Like, what's another law that's not going to be there? Like, let me think. Like, Deuteronomy 25. I believe it's 25 when it goes into raising up seed for your brother. All right? Or, there's plenty of commandments. Like in Deuteronomy 22 and 28, when you lay hold on a woman, you're going to lay hold on a virgin, and then you force her and lie down with her. You have to make her your wife. You're not going to have a need to do that in the kingdom.
Or accidentally killing somebody.
Yeah, you accidentally kill somebody, a damn manslayer. There's going to be a lot of laws and commandments that's going to be taught to Israel, and it's going to be embedded in your inward part. But you're going to have certain Israelites that's not down with it, man. All right, they're going to get rebellious. So the Lord is going to rule over us in the wilderness with fury and wrath. Now, let's go down to this. It says, let's go to the Hebrew Chaldee lexicon. To feed a flock, to pasture, to tend, and figuratively to guard, to take care of, or to rule. That's what the Lord is going to do. He's going to figuratively feed us by ruling over us. All right? And that's how you care for somebody, by ruling over them. Now, I got these precepts, Salakia. Now, this goes into the rod and the staff, because Yahweh Shai, go to Psalms 23 real quick. There's a prayer in Psalms 23 that David said. He said, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. When he said the Lord is my shepherd, he's talking about the word of the Lord, i.e. talking about Yahweh Shai himself. He's the chief shepherd. In John 10:11, he said what? I am the good shepherd. All right? And when you go into the history of a shepherd, the shepherd had sticks of instruments that they used to take care of the sheep. Shepherds had a staff and shepherds had a rod. A rod was used for discipline and for ruling over the sheep if they got out of line. Certain sheep want to bite other sheep or go and stray away. You have a rod and you actually hit the sheep. So in Micah 7 it says, feed thy people with thy rod. It means rule over them with thy rod. But you also had a staff that the sheep had. And the staff was used for guidance. You understand? When a sheep is like going astray a little off the path, you just use the staff and guide them in the right direction. So in Psalms 23, it says what? Thy rod and thy staff comfort me. But let's read it. Psalms 23.
Psalms chapter 23.
Straight to the point where it says thy rod and thy staff. Read one. Just start from the top.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not.
Read up.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters.
Right. So the Lord is our shepherd, and that's the sheep. Jeremiah 50:6, it says, my people have been lost sheep. So Israelites, we're the sheep, and the Lord leads us into green pastures. So the green pastures is his Bible. From Genesis to Revelation, this is what we feed on. You understand? This is where we get our nourishment from. This is how we eat. This is how we get our vitamins and our spiritual nutrients from these green pastures. A sheep is not going to be content with dwelling in the desert. But the sheep will be content if you put them in a great grassland or green pastures. So that's where the Lord places us. He leads us to these green pastures and his living water. Go on.
He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
Come on, Babylon the Great.
I will fear no evil.
Right.
For thou art with me.
Right, the Most High is with us, even in the land of our enemies.
Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me.
Thy what?
Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me.
Right, the rod and the staff represents the discipline of the law and the guidance of the Most High, the chastisement and the loving kindness and mercy of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. That's the rod and the staff that comforts you. All right? That's why in this article I got, it says what? When the shepherd is afield with his flock in the high country, it is customary for him to carry a minimum of equipment. This was especially true in the olden times where the sheepmen did not have the benefit of mechanized equipment to transport camp supplies across the rough country. All right? In the Middle East, the shepherd carries only a rod and staff. Some of the most vivid boyhood recollections are those of watching the African herdsmen shepherding their flock with only a long, slender stick and a rough knob carry in their hands. These are the common and universal equipment of the primitive sheepmen. All right, I'll jump down. It says, actually, I'll read on. Each shepherd boy, from the time his first start to tend his father's flock, takes special pride in the selection of a rod and staff exactly suited to his own size and strength. He goes into the bush and selects a young sapling which is dug from the ground. This is carved and whittled down with great care and patience. The enlarged base of the sapling, where its trunk joins the roots, is shaped into a smooth, round head of hard wood. The sapling itself is shaped to exactly fit the owner's hand. After he completes it, the shepherd boy spends hours practicing with this club, learning how to throw it with amazing speed and accuracy. It becomes the main weapon of defense for both himself and the sheep. The rod, in fact, was an extension of the owner's own right arm, it stood as a symbol of strength, his power and authority in any serious situation. And that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a serious situation in the wilderness, man. And the Lord is going to have that rod for discipline and correction. The rod was what he relied on to both safeguard himself and his flock from danger. And it was furthermore, here's the point I wanted, the instrument he used to discipline and correct any wayward sheep that insisted on wandering out of the way. You're going to have Israelites that wander out of the way in the wilderness, man. They want to do what they want to do. All right? You can read about that in the whole book of Numbers, man. And that book of Numbers makes you shake your head because Israel always wanted to do what they wanted to do. Well, God, that we was in ancient Egypt. Well, God, that this happened. Well, God, that let's kill Moses and appoint a captain over us and go back into slavery. So the Lord's going to have that rod that's going to discipline Israel in the wilderness, man. But we're at in the midst of Mount Carmel, Bashan, and Gilead on the northern part of Israel. That's where the beginning of our where we dock at, our spaceships or chariots are going to land at. We're going to come out those chariots and be in that place. And Yahushua is going to be there. He's going to rule over us with discipline of the law. All right. Then I got this article right here. It says the shepherd's rod and staff. All right. It says the rod in biblical times was a 2 to 4 foot club used for defending the sheep from predators and robbers. It was worn in their belt and may resemble a walking stick, but was a weapon tool to provide safety for the flock. The staff was used to hold sheep during shearing and for gentle correction and redirection. Alright. The hook at the top end of the staff was fit around the neck or head of the sheep to reroute them. Alright, so basically you have the rod for gentle correction and a staff for firm discipline. So let's go back to Micah 7 and 14. Read that one more time. So now we're understanding the dynamics of what a shepherd does and what the rod means.
Micah chapter 7 verse 14. Feed thy people with thy rod.
Right, meaning rule over them with discipline. Israelites.
The flock of thine heritage.
Right, because we're the lost sheep. When you read Jeremiah 50 and 6 and Matthew 18 and 11 and Matthew the 9th chapter, 36th verse on down.
Which dwell solitarily in the wood.
Right, we're going to be in the wilderness.
In the midst of Carmel.
That's where it's going to be.
Let them feed in Bashan and Gilead, as in the days of old.
So right here we got a map for Mount Carmel, Bashan, and Gilead. Let me get this map right here. All right, right here. You got Mount Carmel where the cursor is. All right. You got Bashan. You got Gilead and Bashan. All right. You got Bashan, Mount Carmel, Gilead. You got this northern part of Israel right here. All right. That's where the wilderness is going to be at. See if I got another map. Right. You got Mount Carmel, Gilead, and Bashan. Same region. Let them feed in Bashan and Mount Carmel as in the days of old. Let's get more precepts. Let's go to the book of Isaiah 65 and 8 through 10. We're going to constantly just throw out precepts to show you parts of northern Israel. All right, mainly focusing on Bashan, Mount Carmel, Gilead, and where the wilderness will be at by backing it up with the scriptures. Isaiah, what did I say, 65? Isaiah chapter 65 and Slakia. Isaiah, damn. 65 and 8.
Isaiah chapter 65 verse 8. Thus saith the Lord, as the new wine is found in the cluster, and one saith, destroy it not, for a blessing is in it. So will I do for my servant's sake, that I may not destroy them all.
Right, because you're going to have a remnant.
And I will bring forth a seed out of Jacob, and out of Judah, an inheritor of my mountains. And mine elect shall inherit it, and my servants shall dwell there. And Sharon shall be a fold of flocks.
Right, Sharon, northern Israel is going to be a fold for the flocks. Go on.
In the valley of Acher, a place for the herds to lie down in.
Talking about Israel.
For my people that have sought me, but yea.
No, that's it on that. So, but Sharon shall be a fold for flocks, in the valley of Acher, a place for the herds to lie down in. These are physical places in the land of Israel. All right, now where is that at? All right, this is the plain of Sharon right here. All right, let me just pull up my other map. Slakia. Here we go. We got the plain of Sharon right here. Same region with Mount Carmel. All right. Like I said, you got Bashan and Gilead over here. You got Mount Carmel right here in the plain of Sharon. You got this region of northern Israel. The plain of Sharon, Mount Carmel, and Gilead. All right. Israel is going to be as the sands of the sea. And this is a small zoom in. All right. Same thing like ancient Egypt, man. We're going to be from location to location, from location to location, and this second wilderness. All right. Same thing as ancient Egypt or the ancient wilderness. So we remember the valley of Achor. That's what the Lord said. All right. Which is in this region right here. Now let's go to the book of Isaiah 33 and 8. All right. Isaiah 33 and 8. So the Lord said, and Sharon shall be a fold for flocks, and the valley of Achor a place for the herds to dwell in. I just showed you that on the map. And I'm going to keep bringing the map out to show you. I want Isaiah the 33rd chapter, and I'm going to go to the 8th verse. Let me pull it up on here. Isaiah chapter 33 and 8. Precept upon precept, line upon line. Breaking down the wilderness one step at a time.
Isaiah chapter 33 verse 8. The highways lie waste. The wayfaring man ceaseth. He hath broken the covenant. He hath despised the cities. He regardeth no man. The earth mourneth and languisheth. Lebanon is ashamed and hewn down. Sharon is like a wilderness, and Bashan and Carmel shake off their fruits.
Right, the earth mourneth and languisheth, because the earth is going to be destroyed, man. All these lands are going to be wiped out. All right, the majority of these nations are going to get hit by these ICBM missiles, and they're going to be agents for World War III. And the land of Israel is going to be laid waste, man. That's why it says Lebanon is ashamed and hewn down. Sharon is like a wilderness, because that place is going to be what a wilderness would be. As Sharon, Mount Carmel, Gilead, and Bashan and Gomer shake out their fruits. So once that destruction is happening, and the peak of World War III, the Lord said, what? Now will I arise, said the Lord. Now will I be exalted. Now will I lift up myself. All right, and this chapter goes into the destruction, man. All right. Let me see. So this is going into that destruction, but we're showing you where the wilderness is going to be at. We keep reading about Sharon as wilderness, Bashan and Carmel and Gilead, the northern part of Israel. Let's go to the book of Hosea 2 and 14. Hosea, the 2nd chapter, the 14th verse. So the wilderness is going to be in the land of Israel, because the land of Israel will be a made desolate wilderness, but we're specifying certain places where we're going to be at in the second wilderness. Prophesying in part. Hosea 2 and 14.
Hosea chapter 2 verse 14. Therefore, behold, I will allure her, and bring her into the wilderness.
Talking about the Lord is going to bring us into the wilderness.
And speak comfortably unto her. And I will give her her vineyards from thence, at the valley of Achor.
Right, we just read about the valley of Achor. All right, in the book of Isaiah 65. Where's the valley of Achor? Let's pull it up on the map. Let me see if I can pull it up right here. All right. You got this region right here. All right. You got Bashan, Gilead, Mount Carmel, Valley of Achor, and the plain of Sharon right here in the northern part of Israel. Same thing I pull up on this map. All right. Plain of Sharon, Achor, Mount Carmel, Bashan, and Gilead. Northern part of Israel. The Lord said I would give her the valley of Achor for a door of hope. Right over here. All right, we giving you the same regions. The Lord is always, he's not deviating down here or saying over here. He's giving you the same region, the same places, over and over again. Read that again, 2 and 15.
And I will give her her vineyards from thence, in the valley of Achor, for a door of hope, and she shall sing there as in the days of her youth, and as in the day when she came up out of the land of Egypt.
Right.
And it shall be at that day, saith the Lord, that thou shalt call me Ishi, and shalt call me no more Baali.
Right, Ishi is husband, and Baali means other gods or lords. Go on.
For I will take away the names of Baalim out of her mouth.
Right, the Lord is going to discipline us, and we're not going to be calling on other gods anymore. But you're going to have other people that's still going to be dealing with the places and the gods of these other nations.
and they shall no more be remembered by their name.
Right?
And in that day,
I mean, when we're in the wilderness,
I will make a covenant for them with the beast of the field, and with the fowls of heaven, and with the creeping things of the ground. And I will break the bow and the sword and the battle out of the earth, and will make them to lie down safely.
right? So the Lord said, in that day will I make a covenant for them with the beasts of the field. That covenant is that contract that the Lord has with the beasts of the field. And during the ancient times, or let's say during now, sometimes you could walk down the alley and you see a stray dog, a pit bull, you're gonna run for your life. If that pit bull start chasing you, you're gonna flee. You're gonna hop the fence and run over a car, and he might get you in the leg, and you're gonna get bit. You know, you go out into the woods and there's mosquitoes everywhere. You want to take that off spray, you want to spray yourself because you get bit by mosquitoes, man. You see a bunch of bees swarming around, you hear the buzzing, you cross the street and go the other way because you fear the beasts of the earth. You understand? Certain birds fly down too close to you, you're going to duck your head. Why? Because you fear the fowls of the air and the beasts of the earth. A damn tarantula walk across your shoulder, you can be like, oh, certain people have heart attacks, man, when they see spiders and snakes and things like that. They actually die. Because the Lord had a contract with the beasts of the earth, or a covenant with the beasts of the earth. Alright, and the beasts of the earth in the ancient world, they didn't attack you. During the time of Adam, you didn't get attacked by a lion or a bit by a shark or stung by mosquitoes or things like that. Alright, you had the beasts of the field that were at one with man. But now people get attacked by beasts, man. Even the plants rise up against man. And they showed you that in that movie, The Happening. Was that Matt Damon? I believe that was Matt Damon in that movie. And
Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, Mark Wahlberg, yeah, I get them mixed up. Mark Wahlberg was in that movie, and the plants, the trees would emit a certain toxin or secrete a certain toxin that would enter into the, I think you would ingest it as a human, and it would cause you to hallucinate and kill yourself and go crazy. Because the earth is rising up against Babylon the Great. Because the earth is an organism. Even these beasts are rising up against Babylon. Alright? But the Lord is going to restore that contract or that covenant with the beasts of the earth, and they're not going to attack us anymore, man. Even the animals, they worship the Most High, man. The animals understand that the Most High is in control of everything. You see, these Edomites, they're atheists. They don't understand. They believe in Scientologists, or they believe in damn robots. They actually made a robot to be a god. What's that book called? The Manual? Yeah. They got a book called The Manual where they worship a robot god.
I think they gotta pay tithes and give homage, and they gotta give them nuts and bolts.
For real? Oh, hey man, that could be a thing. Give them nuts and bolts and damn screwdrivers and stuff like that, man. But I'm gonna show you that the animals believe and worship the Most High, man. All right, give me Job. You got it?
Job.
Job chapter 12.
5.
No, Job 12. Then we're gonna get Job 5. I believe it's Job 12 and 3. All right, Job chapter 12. Because right now, these animals have an idea of who's destroying the earth. They know it's not Jake. When these birds flying up there in the damn sky and they breathing in chemtrails, you understand, and they breathing in damn carbon monoxide and they falling out the ground, thousands of them at one time. And you watching the news and they talking about, oh, we don't know how 10,000 birds just fell down out the sky. They know what happened. These animals understand that Esau's destroying the earth.
Whales be washing up on the shore.
Right, these whales be washing up on the shore with a gut full of plastic in them, and thousands of fishes washing up on shore. They understand who's destroying the earth because these animals, they believe in the Most High. But I'm gonna show you that.
Yeah, hold on, that's crazy. I seen on Twitter too. Somebody said the exact same thing. Even animals are tired of white man, and the dude wasn't being in the truth.
Right.
Because sharks started attacking a whole bunch of fishermen.
Yeah, I seen that. Them sharks was rising up against them. Because the earth is rising up against them, man. And we're part of the earth. What's that? Job 12 and started 6. 6. Yeah, my bad.
Job chapter 12 verse 6. The tabernacles of robbers prosper, and they that provoke God are secure.
Talking about Esau living lavishly, not getting judged.
Into whose hand God bringeth abundantly.
Right.
But ask now the beasts, and they shall teach thee, and the fowls of the air, and they shall tell thee.
Right, you can ask the beast. You can ask certain. You don't physically ask an animal and it teaches you, but you can learn from animals through observation. Right? If you there's a book, scripture in Proverbs for a sluggard or a lazy man. The Lord said in Proverbs, I believe it's the 6th chapter. He said, "Go consider the ants, O sluggard, and be wise." Why would the Lord tell a lazy man to go look at ants and then become wise? Because the ants are constantly moving, man. The ants don't take napping and take days off and say, I don't feel like doing this today. I don't feel like carrying a leaf and building up the damn anthill today. They work wintertime, summertime, fall time, and springtime. So if it's a lazy man's watching those ants, he's going to consider that they're always working, and then he may consider himself, I should always be working. When you when people actually, when they say the early bird catches the worm, that's an actual thing that somebody saw, man. They was probably out there in the field and saw a worm come up. Then they saw one bird catch the worm and eat the worm. Then another bird came about 10 seconds later and tried to get the same worm but didn't get it. Because the first one got there. Then he came up with that saying. So he asked the beasts of the earth and they taught him that by observation. They call that naturalism. I believe Charles Darwin, an Edomite, did that too, man. He went out there and he was a naturalist, and he observed the birds and the beaks that they had, and it taught him certain things about man. It taught him lies because he didn't understand. He came with that evolution.
He said we come from monkeys and monkey nuts.
Yeah. They deceived him. Now, another concept I wanted to talk. I can't remember what it was, but the Lord deals with trees a lot. When you understand the scriptures, the Lord refers to men as trees. So let's say you got a brother that's low in the faith, you understand, he's slacking, he's not reading and studying enough. You take him to a forest, and then you show him tall trees, man. You show him tall oak trees, tall maple trees. You show him fruit trees that have fruit, that have a whole bunch of leaves on them, a whole bunch of branches on them. And then you show him a tree that's cut down. You can tell that man, that's going to be you, man. You could be that tree that's cut down, or you could be this tree that's prosperous. And you watch that tree grow through water, through nourishment and sunlight, and it's supposed to teach that man through the scriptures and knowledge and wisdom, he's going to grow and become that tree. The Lord refers to men as trees because you ask the beasts of the earth, and you observe nature is there for a reason. You know, Jake always on a phone, and you on Instagram, you're always looking at the screen. You're supposed to go out there in nature and be wise. That's why Isaac went out in the field in Genesis 24, and was meditating in the field. He didn't go enter into a damn closet. He went to meditate in the field. That's what the Lord said in Psalms 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. All right. So read that again, 7.
Job chapter 12 verse 7. But ask now the beast, and they shall teach thee, and the fowls of the air, and they shall tell thee. Or speak to the earth, and it shall teach thee, and the fishes of the sea shall declare unto thee. Who knoweth not in all these that the hand of the Lord hath wrought this?
Right. And you know another thing on that, Jake, when they went to certain parts of China and Japan, they taught those Moabites kung fu, and they would have a thing like crouching lion. I find it like crouching lion, or serpent, drunken serpent or something like that,
monkey fist.
or monkey fist or things like that, because they would consider those animals, and or praying mantis. They would look at those animals' nature and apply it to a fighting style to destroy their enemies. That's asking the earth things, and it teaches you certain things. And these beasts tell you what? Read that again.
Who knoweth not in all these that the hand of the Lord hath wrought this?
Right, go on.
In whose hand
read up. It's not gonna pick up your sound.
In whose hand is the soul of every living thing, and the breath of all mankind.
Right, so the beasts of the field and the fishes, they know that the Most High is the controller of all of their souls and spirits, man. They understand that. It's not deep for them. It's common sense for them. Just like it is for the hopeful elect. Go to Psalms 104 and 20. Let me show you again. Psalms chapter 104 and 20. All right. Psalms chapter 104 and 20. Another precept to show you that the animals believe and worship the Most High. Start at 19. Or 20, my bad.
Psalms chapter 104 verse 20. Thou makest darkness, and it is night, wherein all the beasts of the forest do creep forth. The young lions roar after their prey and seek their meat from God.
Don't seek their meat from man.
From God.
Why do the young lions seek their meat from God? Because they understand that the Most High is the controller of all things, man. They understand that.
It's like in Matthew. I get it. It's
6 and 25. Yeah. About the fowls of the air. Right? So they understand, these different beasts of the earth understand that Yahweh Bashmi Awashai, he controls all of this, man. The spirits, the water, the fishes, the prey. You know, when you die, you have certain animals that only operate when they only eat dead things, man. They call them scavengers, or they call them detrivores, or decomposition animals. They only eat things that die. So these animals cannot eat unless certain things die. So the Lord has to take the life of certain creatures so these animals can eat. He ordains a feast for them, and they eat, man. You know, you walk past a dead carcass, it's a whole bunch of animals. You have ants there, beetles, maggots, all animals out there eating, having a feast, because the Lord allows them to eat during that time.
Matthew chapter 6, verse 25. You want to go?
Yeah, Matthew. Let me pull it up. Matthew chapter 6 and 25. You can pull it up. Yeah, you got it.
Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat, or what ye shall drink, nor yet for your body, what ye shall put on. Is not the life more than meat, and the body more than raiment?
Go on.
Slacky, and the body than raiment? Behold, the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feedeth them. Are ye not much better than they?
Right, so the birds don't trip and say, I don't know if I'm going to get food today. They start stressing out and sweating. Write a list of their mortgage. I got to pay the rent, and I don't know if I got enough money for groceries. I got to get a nest, and then they don't worry about stuff like that, man.
Yeah.
They have something called instinct. All right, where the Lord embedded these spirits to do certain things, man. They don't trip and stress over food like man does. They understand that the Most High gives them their food.
Yeah, Jake at school or in my classes be like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to pass. I don't know if I'm going to do this in the third. I don't know how I'm going to do this. Just lacking faith. It just literally, that's what it comes down to. Just lacking faith.
All right, now from there, let's go to the Job 5. Straight to the point. Job 5 about the covenant. It's like it, Job
23.
All right, bring it out.
Job chapter 5 verse 23.
So we talked about that in the wilderness, the Lord is going to make a covenant with the beasts of the field. So back then, like I said, you didn't get attacked by animals and lions and bears, and you didn't have to set up bear traps and wear offspray. Back then, the animals were at peace with man. Right? Go on.
For thou shalt be in league with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field shall be at peace with thee.
Right, so this chapter goes in, from 17 on down to the end, goes into the transition and periods of time over Israel, about Jacob's trouble, getting delivered, famine and death and destruction. And 23 deals with us in the wilderness, about being at peace with the beasts of the field. Now from there, let's go to the book of Isaiah 11 and 6. All right. So, yeah, you got to know the milk, and you got to understand not eat pork and simple things, but you also have to understand the nature of things, man. All right, the scriptures are manifold. What is that? Isaiah 11 and 6. Let's get that real quick. Isaiah 11 and 6. This is talking about in the wilderness and in the kingdom. Go on.
Isaiah chapter 11 verse 6. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them.
So how can a wolf dwell with a lamb? The wolf and the lamb are damn enemies, man. They tell you that in that story, the boy that cried wolf, man. Because the wolf comes down and eats lambs for dinner. So in the kingdom and in the wilderness, you're going to have a time period, which is going to be forever, where animals are not going to eat each other. Even during the time of Genesis, they all ate one thing, which was the herbs of the grass. Everybody were vegetarians back then. Tigers ate straw and grass, and lions ate grass and hay. They ate the same thing that lambs ate. So in the kingdom, they're going to eat the same thing. They're going to go back to being vegetarians. All right, even man back then were vegetarians. All man and beast ate the same thing. They ate the tree that yielded fruit with seeds in it. Even vegetables that had seeds. Or do vegetables have seeds? Well, they grow. They got seeds on a damn scientific level. So it says, the wolf shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion together, and the fatling together, and the little child shall lead them. So you're going to have a little child leading a wolf and a lamb. This is literal. Go on.
And the cow and the bear shall feed.
So you have a cow eating side by side with a bear. Go on.
Their young ones shall lie down together.
And they show you that now. That's kind of happening now. You can go on YouTube and they show you certain movies, clips about certain animals that are complete opposites living together. Like I saw a monkey giving a lion a massage.
Yeah.
Or you show a cat and a dog best friends. Or a reindeer and a lion living together. Because the Lord is restoring the spirit of the earth back in the ancient times. Go on.
And the lion shall eat straw.
The lion shall what?
Eat straw, like the ox.
So the lion is going to go back to eating straw and plants like it did during the time of Genesis.
And the sucking child shall play on the hole of the ass.
Right, meaning the snake's going to be playing with children.
And the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice den.
So you're not going to have to you're not going to worry about getting bit by a snake anymore, man. If you get bit by a snake, it's not going to happen anymore. And Paul was a man that actually had that spirit, because when you read about Acts, Paul got bit by a snake. Then he get, what island did he get? Island of Malta, I believe. And there was a bunch of pagans there, and they were warming by the fire, and the snake came up and bit Paul's hand. But Paul just shook it off, because Paul already saw the kingdom. He already went up to the heavens, man. He already went through this before. You already know what's going on. That's why the snake didn't hurt him. And I think they thought Paul, they said, what manner of man this is. And they was worshiping Paul. They was worshiping Paul and Barnabas. They called him Jupiter and Apollo or Hermes or Mercury. They called him one of them. All right, so from there, we show you about the beasts of the field and what's going to happen in the wilderness. Go to Genesis 9. Genesis 1 and 29. All right, Genesis chapter 1 and 29. So a main thing in the wilderness is you're not going to have to worry about a bear sneaking in your tent and destroying you and all that. The Lord is going to cause the evil beast to cease out of the land. All right, Genesis 1 and 29.
Genesis chapter 1 verse 29.
Yeah, you got it. Good. Slack it, Israel. You read it.
And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat.
He said, man, he's supposed to eat vegetation. Go on.
And to every beast of the earth,
even to the beasts of the earth,
and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. So
all animals ate vegetation. Because right now you actually have animals that only eat feces. Like they got dung beetles and certain animals that only eat your waste, man. They can't wait till you use the bathroom so they can eat your waste. You got birds that are cursed and they got to eat worms. You understand? We got to eat the defiled food of this land. All right, so everything in that instant is going to go back to being a vegetarian.
It was an apple the other day. It wasn't turning brown at all.
Right.
Usually when you take a few bites out of it, it turned brown. Was that the lack of oxygen?
Something like that, yeah.
And then it was something else. You drink some water or something, your face start breaking out. The water all tainted.
Right, they got lead all in the water, shrimp all in the water.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go back to our original estate. Go to Ezekiel 34 and 25. Ezekiel chapter 34 and 25. So this is a good component about what's going to happen in that wilderness. Adriel, you can hop in whenever. You got precepts. I said you got precepts. You throw them in.
I'm in talking to myself.
Huh?
I'm in talking to myself.
Con. All right, Ezekiel 34 and 25.
Ezekiel chapter 34, verse 25. And I will make with them a covenant of peace, and will cause the evil beasts to cease out of the land, and they shall dwell safely in the wilderness, and sleep in the woods.
Right, in Micah 7 it says they dwell solitarily in the wood. Like I said, that's the same thing as this wilderness. We're going to dwell safely in the wilderness and sleep in the wood, and the Lord is going to cause all those evil beasts to cease out of the land. Not have to worry about a damn scorpion and a damn viper trying to bite you, man. All right, let's go to Isaiah chapter 32 and 8. All right, let's get back into it. We talked about the covenant. One of the main things that's going to happen in the wilderness is the Lord going to restore that contract with that covenant with the beasts of the earth. They're going to go back to original state, and you're not going to have to worry about getting attacked by beasts in the wilderness. That's one of the main things I wanted to touch on. Let's go to something else. Isaiah chapter 32 and 8. We already break it down the location. Now we're giving more precepts for the location, painting the picture and bringing it to life through the precepts. Isaiah 32 and 8. 32 and Slakia. Is that what I want? 33 and 8? Try Isaiah 33 and 8.
Isaiah chapter 32 verse 8.
33. I think that's what I want. Yeah.
33 verse 8. The highways lie waste. The wayfaring man ceaseth. He hath broken the covenant. He hath despised the cities. He regardeth no man. The earth mourneth, and languisheth. Lebanon is ashamed, and hewn down. Sharon is like a wilderness, and Bashan and Carmel shake off their fruit.
Right, meaning that land of Israel is going to get destroyed. Read on. And it's going to be made a wilderness. That whole land of Israel is going to be made a desolate wilderness.
Now will I rise, saith the Lord. Now will I be exalted. Now will I lift up myself.
All right, let's sit on that. Now let's go to the book of Isaiah 35 and 1. So we're going to be in that desolate land of Israel, and the Lord's going to cause the evil beast to cease out of that land first and foremost. All right, and then you're going to see Yahushua face to face. Isaiah 35 and 1. I'm still giving you precepts on the location. Let me show you them on the map again. Sharon, Mount Carmel, Gilead, Bashan. All right, where the region where the wilderness is going to be at. All right, I got on this map right here where the cursor is Bashan. You understand? Gilead. All right, Bashan. These mountains, this region right here. All right, just giving you a visual. More zoomed in visual. Bashan, where the Carmel is. I mean, where the cursor is. Like Bashan right here. Gilead, this region right here. Give you another visual. Mount Carmel, Bashan, Gilead, painting the picture for you. We keep reading about the valley of Achor, Sharon, Bashan, Gilead, this region right here. You keep reading about the same precepts. Let's see if we can see anything different. What does it say? Isaiah 35 and 1. Let's read it.
Isaiah chapter 35 verse 1.
You need that light?
Nah. The wilderness and the solitary place shall be glad for them.
Right, that's why Micah 7:14 it says, which dwell solitarily in the wood. That wood is that same wilderness. I just showed you that in Ezekiel 34 and 25. It should dwell safely in the wilderness and in the wood. Same thing in Isaiah 35 and 1. The wilderness and solitary place shall be glad for them, for the Israelites. Go on.
And the desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose.
Right, because right now that land is a desert land, but it's going to blossom. The Lord has a certain spirit on that land. He's going to restore that land to look like it did during the days of Adam, his wife, when they dwelt in the Garden of Eden, because that's where the Garden of Eden was, in the land of Israel. All right. If you had the Garden of Eden in the beginning, you're going to have the Garden of Eden in the kingdom. If Adam had to till the land and dress and keep the Garden of Eden and teach the nations the commandments, you're going to have Adam do the same thing again as Yahushua. No new thing is under the sun. So why would the wilderness be anywhere else except the desert land or the land of Israel to build it back up to the kingdom? All right, go on.
The glory of Lebanon.
Read 2 again.
It shall blossom abundantly.
Right, that land from that desert state is going to blossom abundantly. Now, look, I got this picture right here. You look up the land of Israel. It's a desert land. Why? Because the real Jews are in that land. Even in 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, you know it's the spirit in that land, because when the king took the northern kingdom out of that land and he placed Hamites in that land from different regions, what happened to those people? The Lord sent lions against them. Because the real people of that land wasn't keeping the laws and commandments. And the people of that land are not Israelites. When you read about the account in 2nd Ezra, the 9th and 10th chapter, there is a woman who was crying and was she moaning for her son? Mm-hmm. Was that right? Yeah. But that woman was really Israel. And it's personifying Israel as a woman. Because there's a spirit in that land. Right? And then you can read about in Baruch, the 4th chapter, tells you about Jerusalem, telling you about, oh, my precious sons, the Lord has carried you away, but he's going to restore you again, right? because Israel is a spirit. I mean, that land has a spirit on it. All right, it's not a land like America where it can't grow, or Europe, it don't have no resources. That's a land flowing with milk and honey. So the Lord has a spirit on that land, and that land is going to flourish and blossom abundantly. All right, so I'm showing you pictures about what the land looks like now. This is not what it's going to look like in the kingdom. It's not going to look like a desert land. Look at this. Look like a complete desert.
Yeah.
Hiking through the holy land, Israel. Look, man, the Lord is not going to have us dwell in a damn desert. All right? When we there, it's going to blossom abundantly. You're going to read about how the Lord is going to plant different types of trees, and because you need trees in the kingdom, man.
Yeah.
You need trees to cleanse the air. What does the tree do? Takes in the carbon dioxide and the different chemicals out the air, and it gives you fresh oxygen. You need different types of trees and stuff, man. We're not going to have big factories in the kingdom giving out smoke and big Mack trucks with the black smoke coming out the top, and we're not going to have that, man.
We about to eat a whole bunch of fruit we usually don't eat. Everybody know about apples, bananas,
Right.
the basics, but like some exotic stuff.
Right, what's that scripture with the tree, let me show you that real quick. I don't know it by heart, but it's in Numbers. Where the grapes were the size of it took 2 men to carry grapes. Let me see. Here it is, Numbers 13 and 23. So back then the grapes would have like the size of basketballs or like a watermelon. All right? Numbers 13 and 23. All right? Yeah, let's read that.
And they came unto the brook of Eshcol, and cut down.
This one, Israel went into the promised land when the Lord sent out spies from one spy from each tribe, from Judah on down or Ephraim, to go into the promised land, and they had to bring back things as a souvenir, for lack of better terms. Go on.
And cut down from thence a branch with a cluster of grapes, and they buried between two upon a staff.
So it took 2 men to carry a cluster of grapes. Them grapes had to be the size of basketballs. You didn't have, you look at an apple, and you could buy what they call them, mini apples.
Yeah.
You don't have many apples in the kingdom. You're not gonna have many apples, man.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, the apple's gonna be like the size of a damn volleyball with seeds in it. All right. It took 2 men to carry a cluster of grapes. Go on.
And they brought of the pomegranates and of the figs. The place was called the brook of Eshcol because of the cluster of grapes which the children of Israel cut down from thence.
And that was in the land of Israel, man. And that was when heathen was in the land. How much more that how much more that land is going to be blessed when we in that land? That's what the Lord says is going to blossom abundantly. Read 2 again, Isaiah 35 and 2.
Isaiah chapter 35 verse 2. It shall blossom abundantly, and rejoice even with the joy and singing. The glory of Lebanon shall be given unto it, the excellency of Carmel and Sharon. They shall see the glory of the Lord, and the excellency of our God.
All right, man. We keep reading about Sharon, Carmel, and Lebanon. Where's Lebanon at? Where's the map at? It's right here. This one I want. You got Lebanon, Mount Carmel, Plain of Sharon, same region. The Lord then switched it up by adding Lebanon. It's the same region, northern part of Israel. All right. And the excellence of Carmel is twofold because the Lord always personifies, or not personify, he used Lebanon or the excellency of Lebanon to signify anything beautiful.
Right.
Like the cedars of Lebanon. You understand? All right. So it's twofold, but it's also physical, on a physical level. All right. This is where the wilderness is going to start at. This place right here. All right. Where the cursor I keep circulating. I'm going to keep going to the map to show you. All right. Go on.
Strengthen ye the weak hands, and confirm the feeble knees. Say to them that are of a fearful heart, be strong, fear not. Behold, your God will come with vengeance, even God with a recompense. He will come and save you. Then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf shall be unstopped. Then shall the lame man leap as an hart, and the tongue of the dumb sing. For in the wilderness shall waters break out, and streams in the desert.
So Israel right now, it's a people. We're a wilderness. You understand? We don't have a living water. We don't have that nourishment, that dew to keep us alive, to have the knowledge of commandments. You only have a certain amount of us that have that living water, but the rest of our people are in that desert state. But physically on that land, it's a desert. I just showed you pictures of that, and you already know that land is at a dry estate. But the Lord is going to have waters and rivers and trees, and it's going to blossom up and look like the Garden of Eden again. All right. For in the wilderness shall waters break out and streams in the desert. Go on.
And the parched ground shall become a pool, and the thirsty land springs of water, and the habitation of dragons where each lay shall be grass with reeds and rushes.
So that's a physical thing that's going to happen. We're going to have reeds and rushes and bushes and vegetation grow up, man. It's going to be spectacular. And the Lord can hasten it in his time. All right, from there, let's go to the book of Zephaniah 3 and 8. All right, to show you more precepts about this whole land going to be destroyed. All right, even that land of Israel. Zephaniah. Actually, we don't have to get it. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah 50 and 18. Well, we're just about done. Jeremiah chapter 50 and 18. All right, so we give you the location. We showed you about the covenant, the beasts of the field. Now we give you a specific location and what's going to happen. Jeremiah chapter 50 and 18. You can read it from here if you don't got it.
Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 18. Therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, behold, I will punish the king of Babylon and his hand,
and his land.
Oh, and his land, as I have punished the king of Assyria.
Right, the king of Babylon represents Esau. And you don't have an actual one king that governs his land. You have something called an oligarchy, which is an elite set of rulers that govern his land. That represents the king of Babylon, that set of men. Go on. And known as the elites, the so-called Illuminati, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds. What's another big banker family? The
Eisenhower.
The who?
Eisenhower.
I don't know, man. I don't know about that one.
You heard of the Eisenhower?
You heard of the Oxenheimers? Oh, Oppenheimers.
Oppenheimer. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And I will bring Israel again to his habitation.
So our habitation is not South America. Our habitation is the land of Israel. I will bring Israel again to his habitation.
And he shall feed on the Carmel and Bashan, and his soul shall be satisfied upon Mount Ephraim and Gilead.
So where is Bashan, Mount Carmel, and Gilead again? Where are we going to feed at? Where is the Lord going to place us at? Keep showing you right here. Let me pull up one of my favorite maps. Right here. All right, you got the mountains. You got Bashan, Mount Gilead. You understand? Mount Carmel. You got this region right here, man. You got Lebanon right here. These are all,
It's big.
Yeah. You got this region right here, man. Now, I don't know if the Lord's going to have us go from here to here to here to here, but I'm giving you an idea of where the wilderness will be at. You understand? I'm giving you an overall location of where it's going to be at. Mount Carmel, Bashan, and Gilead. All right. Now the Lord can have us go from here, from Mount Carmel to Bashan, or then go from Gilead to wherever, man. Eventually, we're going to end up in Jerusalem, end up in Mount Zion, but we're not going to start there first. We're going to start up here and get the laws and commandments, and then we're going to fill the land. All right. The Lord is going to distribute the land by lot. When you understand Ezekiel, the latter chapters, the same way Joshua distributed the land by lot, the Lord is going to have the land of Israel be distributed by lot. So we're not going to go into Jerusalem yet because the land has to be distributed by lot. So it's going to start here. All right. Let's go to the book of, what do I want? Zechariah 10 and 8. Zechariah 10 and 8. So Jeremiah said, I will bring Israel again to his habitation, the land of Israel. He shall feed on Carmel and Bashan. His soul shall be satisfied upon Mount Ephraim and Gilead. I'm giving you that location and showing you that on the map. All right, so we paint the picture. We keep reading about Bashan and Gilead and Mount Carmel and northern Israel. Give you an overall location. Precept upon precept. Zechariah 10 and 8.
Zechariah chapter 10, verse 8. I will hiss for them and gather them, for I will have redeemed them, and they shall increase as they have increased.
All right, we're going to go back to being as the sands of the sea. Read on.
And I will sow them among the people, and they shall remember me in far countries, and they shall live with their children and turn again.
Go on.
I will bring them again also out of the land of Egypt.
Talking about America.
And gather them out of Assyria.
Symbolic for America again.
And I will bring them into the land of Gilead.
I will bring them to South America.
Gilead.
I will bring them into the land of Gilead.
and Lebanon, and place shall not be found for them.
I think that's a cut right there.
Yeah.
He just said, I will bring them into the land of Gilead. That's not a spiritual land.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a spiritual land,
Spiritual.
but he's literally going to bring us into the land of Gilead, Lebanon, Bashan, and Mount Carmel.
Yeah.
The northern land of Israel, man. He just said, I'm going to bring you there. All right, this region right here.
What precept says South America?
I don't know. Look, man, I don't know. They say South America. GMS said South America. I'm not sure what any other camp said, but it would make sense. It would make sense for the Lord to put us back in that land that's desolate, and we would have to build up that land.
Right.
Not take 4 trips and pit stops and gas stops and get up and get back on the chariot. Oh, you left your notebook and come on, man, hurry up! You're about to leave.
I want to drive back seat. I want to be in the back seat. Come on, man.
Right. It don't make sense for that to happen. So the Lord, let's read that again real quick. Zechariah 10:10.
I will bring them again also out of the land of Egypt.
Right, Egypt and Assyria represent terms of captivity. Not only America, but the other lands where the Israelites are scattered abroad.
And gather them out of Assyria.
Right?
And I will bring them into the land of Gilead and Lebanon, and place shall not be found up for them.
Right. I mean, there's going to be an innumerable amount of us there. All right? Let's show you that on the map again. I want to keep showing you the map to paint the picture. Mount Carmel, Bashan, Gilead. This region right here. All right, these are mountains. This is an elevated land. Let's see if I got another map. All right, Mount Carmel, Bashan, and Gilead, and Lebanon. This northern part of Israel. All right, from there.
You get that right?
Yeah, we just read Zechariah 10:8. Go to Isaiah chapter 32 and 12. We about to close up in a minute. Isaiah chapter 32 and 12. All right, Isaiah 32 and 12. Slakia. Isaiah, dang. Hold on, Israel, bear with me 1 second. I don't even know what just happened. I don't know about Cal Atlantic Homes.
I do.
Okay. Isaiah chapter 32 and 12. Let's read that.
Isaiah chapter 32 verse 12. They shall lament for their tents,
For the teats.
for the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vine,
Right?
upon the land of my people,
Which is the land of Israel, upon the land of my people.
shall come up thorns and briars, yea, upon all the houses of joy in the joyous city.
Some of Israel is going to be laid waste. It's going to be destroyed in World War III. Go on.
Because the palaces shall be forsaken, the multitude of the city shall be left, the forts and towers shall be for dens forever, a joy of wild asses, a pasture of flocks.
Right, that land is going to be a wilderness. That's what it's saying. Go on.
Until the Spirit be poured upon us from on high, and the wilderness be a fruitful field, and the fruitful field be counted for a forest.
So the Lord is going to pour that Spirit back on that land, man. Not only on us, the people, but on that physical land. And that land is going to be counted as a fruitful field and esteemed a forest. Because there's an actual Spirit the Lord is going to put back on that homeland of Israel once the Israelites are dwelling there. And it's going to be counted as a forest. You're going to have the palm trees like they had in Jericho. I know they was known for its palm trees. The cedars of Lebanon, the cypress tree, any those trees from the Middle East, they're all going to be planted in that land. The fir tree, the box tree. All right? And it's going to be counted for a forest when the Spirit is poured upon us from Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. Go on.
Then judgment shall dwell in the wilderness.
Then what?
Then judgment shall dwell in the wilderness.
So you're going to have actual judgment in the wilderness. What's going to be judgment? When Yahushua is there correcting us, teaching us the laws and commandments. You have certain people getting put to death in the wilderness. It says, then judgment shall dwell in the wilderness and righteousness remain. Because the people that get taken out, they're not the righteous. So when the judgment takes place and the people that get weeded out of the wilderness, the remaining of them are going to be righteous, and they're going to remain in that fruitful field, meaning the land of Israel. Go on.
And the work of righteousness shall
read up.
And the work of righteousness shall be peace, and the effect of righteousness, quietness, and assurance forever.
Right, because once you survive that second wilderness, that's righteousness, quietness, and assurance forever. Read on.
And my people shall dwell in a peaceable habitation, and in sure dwellings, and in quiet resting places.
Right, go on. So we read about judgment taking place in the wilderness because Yahushua is going to be there with that rod to rule over you and correct you. You got people not getting down with the New World Order, the righteous New World Order. Go on.
19.
19.
When it shall hail coming down on the forest, and the city shall be low in a low place. Blessed are ye that sow beside all waters, that send forth thither the feet of the ox and the ass.
Right, because we don't have our cattle in our land, and that's common sense to take your cattle and send them by the water and things like that, man. You understand? So it's telling you about what's going to take place in the wilderness. Let's go to the book of. Oh, we making progress. Let's go to Isaiah. There's a lot of precepts in Isaiah, chapter 29 and 17 through 24. So it says what? Until the Spirit be poured on us from high, and the wilderness be a fruitful field, and a fruitful field be counted for a forest. Then judgment shall dwell in the wilderness, and righteousness remain in the fruitful field. Now let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 29. What did I say, 17? Let's go to it. Isaiah 29 and 17.
Isaiah chapter 29, verse 17. Is it not yet a very little while, and Lebanon shall be turned into a fruitful field, and the fruitful field shall be esteemed as a forest?
Now let me pull this up on another app. Isaiah, what was the last one we read? Isaiah chapter, I need that light. You try to turn that light on real quick? Isaiah chapter 32 and 12. Let me pull this up. Because I want to show you something, Israel. The what? Isaiah 32 and 15, I believe. Alright. It says, this is Isaiah 32 and 15. Until the Spirit be poured upon us from on high, and the wilderness be a fruitful field, and the fruitful field be counted for a forest. Now the Lord, in this next verse, he's going to replace the word wilderness with Lebanon. So this says, is it not yet a very little while, and Lebanon shall be turned into a fruitful field, and the fruitful field shall be esteemed a forest. But in this verse, instead of using the word Lebanon, it says the wilderness will be a fruitful field. Why does it do that? Because that's where the wilderness will be at. All right, it's giving you that overall location of where it's going to be at. I'll explain it one more time. Isaiah 32 and 15 says the wilderness will be a fruitful field, and the fruitful field will be counted for a forest, and the Lord backs it up by giving you the location. It says, is it not yet a very little while, and Lebanon shall be turned into a fruitful field, and the fruitful field shall be esteemed a forest. All right, and at that day shall the deaf hear the words of this book, and the eyes of the blind shall see out of obscurity and out of darkness. All right, the meek shall also shall increase their joy in the Lord, and the poor among men shall rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. For the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed. You have scoffers and scorners in the wilderness, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off. All right. So that's what's going to happen. You're going to have scoffers and scorners in the wilderness, and the Lord is going to cut them off, and righteous people are going to remain. Let's go to the book of Ezekiel 34 and 11. All right. Giving you the location. Now, where's Lebanon at? Lebanon is right up here where the cursor is. I got another map. Lebanon. This wilderness is going to be turned to a fruitful field, and it's going to be counted a forest, back as it was in the days when it was the Garden of Eden. All right. Now let's go to what I say?
34 and 11.
Isaiah 34 and 11. Let me pull it up on here. I mean Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 34 and 11. My bad. Ezekiel 34 and 11. So through thy precepts, we're going to give you the understanding. All right. Ezekiel 34 and 11.
Ezekiel chapter 34, verse 11. For thus saith the Lord God, behold, I, even I, will both search my sheep and seek them out.
Right, because we're the sheep and Yahweh shall the shepherd. Go on.
As a shepherd seeketh out his flock in the day that he is among his sheep that are scattered, so will I seek out my sheep, and will deliver them out of all places where they have been scattered in the cloudy and dark day.
So the Lord is going to send his angels to deliver the elect from the four winds of heaven. Go on.
And I will bring them out from the people and gather them from the countries.
Right, from Europe, from America, from all the places where we're scattered.
And will bring them to their own land.
Now bring us to South America.
Their own land.
Right, bring us to our own land.
And feed them upon the mountains of Israel by the rivers, and in all the inhabited places of the country.
Right, what are those mountains and rivers? I just showed you on the map. Let me pull it up again. These are mountains and rivers. Mount Carmel, you understand? Mount Tabor, Mount Gilbon, Mount Gilead, you understand? Mount Hermon. These are the mountains and rivers. the Jamuk River, the Jordan River. You understand? What is this? The Kishon River, Lake Huron. These are the mountains and rivers in the northern part of Israel where the Lord is going to feed us. Let's read that again. Read that part again. 35 and 13.
And
13. 34 and 13.
And I will bring them out from the people and gather them from the countries, and will bring them to their own land and feed them upon the mountains of Israel, by the rivers, and in all the inhabited places of the country.
All right, these are the mountains and rivers. All right, Gilead, Bashan, Carmel, Valley of Achor, the northern part of Israel. Now from there, let's go to Isaiah 51 and 3. Isaiah chapter 51 and 3. Slack it. Let me pull it up on here. All right, got about 10 more. Isaiah chapter 51 and 3. We're breaking down where this wilderness will be at. We showed you the beast of the field, the covenant. All right, the location. Yahweh Shai is going to be there. We're going to get more precepts. Isaiah 51 and 3.
Isaiah chapter 51 verse 3. For the Lord shall comfort Zion. He will comfort all her waste places, and he will make her wilderness like Eden, and her desert like the garden of the Lord. Joy and gladness shall be found therein, thanksgiving and the voice of melody.
All right, read that again.
For the Lord shall comfort Zion.
Talking about that land.
He will comfort all her waste places.
It's going to be made a desert after the destruction of World War III.
And he will make her wilderness.
It's going to be a wilderness
like Eden.
It's going to return back to the Garden of Eden.
And her desert like.
It's going to be, because it is a desert now.
Like the garden of the Lord.
It's going to return back to that Garden of Eden again.
Joy and gladness shall be found therein.
Because the survivors of the wilderness are going to dwell in that land.
Thanksgiving.
You're going to be thanking the Most High.
And the voice of melody.
You're going to be singing and making dances like they did during the first Exodus.
Hearken unto me.
That's it on that. All right, so that's self-explanatory. Let's go to Ezekiel 36 and 33. All right, Ezekiel 36 and 33, because that's where the Garden of Eden was in the land of Israel, and that's where it's going to be at again. No, the Lord requires that which is past. All right, Ezekiel 36 and 33. Let me pull it up. All right, go on.
Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 33. Thus saith the Lord God, in the day that I shall have cleansed you from all your iniquities, I will also cause you to dwell in the cities, and the waste shall be builded.
Right, well, in that wilderness, we're going to have to go round up those nations too and put them in slavery, and they're going to have to build up the waste. They're going to have to, Ezekiel 39 tells you, we're going to sever out men for continual employment to clean up the dead bodies and burn the weapons with fire. We're going to have our slaves out there, you understand? We're going to have some in the pit. All right, you're going to have other nations waiting to get destroyed. And then you're going to have us there, man. All right, the Lord said, I will cause you to dwell in the cities, and the waste shall be built. Go on.
And the desolate land shall be tilled.
Right. Like the Lord said in Genesis 2 and 15, he sent Adam to till that land, or to dress it and to keep it. Go on.
Whereas it lay desolate in the sight of all that passed
It's
by.
going to be destroyed in Armageddon.
And they shall say, this land that was desolate.
So that land that was desolate and the wilderness
is become like the Garden of Eden. And the waste and the desolate and ruined cities are become fenced and are inhabited.
So we're going to have to build up fences and build up walls and get the nations to build up that kingdom all over again. And it's going to look like what? I keep saying it, the Garden of Eden. What it tells you in Genesis, the 2nd chapter, about the Pison, Gihon, which is the Nile River. Pison is the Red Sea. Tigris in the Euphrates and that Jordan River give you the overall location of the land of Israel. So that land that was desolate and wilderness is become like the Garden of Eden, because that land is going to be a wilderness but restored back as it was during the time of Genesis. Let's go to the book of Psalms chapter 107 and 35. All right, Psalms 107 and 35. Trying to shorten it out. Psalms chapter 107. We are right here. We skipped that. We might skip that too. Psalms chapter 107 and 35. So Israel, you should be taking a lot of notes and a lot of precepts and getting an understanding of what's going to happen. All right, we didn't even get to the best part yet. Psalms 107, and start at 1. Actually, let me jump to 34. Yeah.
Psalms chapter 107 verse 34. A fruitful land into barrenness for the wicked of them that dwell therein.
So that fruitful land in Israel is going to be turned into barrenness. Barrenness because we was wicked. We got kicked out that land. Go on. And them so-called Jews are wicked. Read on.
He turneth the wilderness into a standing water, and dry ground into water springs. And there,
so that's why he's going to issue out those waters and those rivers that's going to be dried up. It even tells you in Revelation that the great river Euphrates is going to be dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. So he's going to make the wilderness into standing water, and the dry ground, that desert, into pools and springs. You're going to have an oasis and different pools and lakes and things of that nature. Go on.
And there he maketh the hungry.
And there is a location there in the wilderness. There in the wilderness. Go on.
He maketh the hungry to dwell, that they may prepare a city for habitation.
So there in the wilderness, we're going to start preparing a city of habitation. How are we going to start preparing a city for habitation in the wilderness? By having the laws and commandments taught to us again by Yahweh Shah. By rounding up the nations and putting them into captivity. After we get the laws and commandments. You understand? After the wicked are purged out of the wilderness. There in the wilderness, we're going to prepare that city of habitation. Read 35 again.
He turneth the...
Now Psalms 107 it's a parable. It jumps in and out of mysteries and breaks down things that happened in the scriptures, but it's giving you it in metaphors. All right. So it talks about slavery in this psalm. It talks about us getting delivered from the first verse on down. From 35 on down is going to talk about us being in the wilderness. And I'm painting the picture and showing you and breaking it down to you. Start at 35 again.
He turneth the wilderness into a standing water.
Right, that's self-explanatory.
And dry ground into water springs.
Right.
And there
is the location. There in the wilderness.
He maketh the hungry to dwell.
Because we're going to be hungry in the wilderness, like we was in the first wilderness.
And that they may prepare a city for habitation.
Right.
And sow the fields and plants vineyards. And sow the fields and plant vineyards, which may yield fruits of increase.
Right, because we're going to plant things and plant trees, like I said, and plant vineyards and fruits and vines and start building up that. We're going to have to actually do a little bit of work, man. We're going to have to get the slaves and the servants to do some work first, man. All right, they're going to have to plant the vineyards and the things of that nature and grow up that land again. So it could be vegetated again. Now let's go to Numbers chapter 11 and 1. Because the Lord said, there he maketh the hungry to dwell. Because in the we were hungry in the first wilderness. You're going to be hungry again in the second wilderness. But let's give you the account of what happened in the first wilderness. Numbers 11 and 1. All right, go on.
Numbers chapter 11, verse 1. And when the people complained, it displeased the Lord. And the Lord heard it, and his anger was kindled. And the fire of the Lord burnt among them, and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp.
Yeah. Jump to 3.
Numbers chapter 11, verse 3. And he called the name of the place Taberah, because the fire of the Lord burnt among them.
Right.
And the mixed of multitude that was among them fell a lusting. And the children of Israel also wept again, and said, Who shall give us flesh to eat?
Go on.
We remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers, and the melons, and the leeks, and the onions, and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all beside this manna before our eyes.
Bunch of niggas. They said, man, we remember this melons that we had in slavery, the cucumbers, the leeks. All we got is this food from heaven. This bread from heaven. What is that manna, man? What is this, man? I don't want this manna. And they got offended at that manna, but that manna that came from heaven was Yahweh Shah. He told you that in John the 6th chapter. And Jake always got offended at Yahweh Shah. That's why the Lord was killing him like that. Because he was the bread that came down from heaven. He told you that in John the 6th chapter. And they said, all we got is this bread. All we got is Yahweh Shah. But they didn't know what was going on. That's what it said they tempted the Lord in the wilderness. But when it says in Hebrews, but with many of them in the wilderness was not the Lord well pleased. And they were overthrown because of unbelief. So you're gonna have people hungry in the wilderness again. I wish I had a Big Mac. I remember going to the Chinese store. I wish I had me some damn shrimp Alfredo. Jay gonna talk about. I wish I had some damn unleavened bread or something clean. Some damn fried chicken. Some what Jake like to eat? Some
chicken, fried chicken, waffles.
Yeah, some waffles. And damn whatever, man. Jay gonna a Chick-fil-A. Jay gonna be complaining about food in the wilderness again. All right, let's go to the book of Exodus 16:2. All right, giving you precepts about Jay complaining in the wilderness. And that's what's going to happen in the second wilderness. Jay going to be complaining for lack of food because you're going to be in a desert land. You're going to be in a desert land for a period of time. And you may not have food or water at your convenience. So you're going to be complaining, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. The Lord going to hear you. You're going to get punished.
You better fast and close your mouth or something.
Right. 16:2.
Exodus chapter 16 verse 2. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to God we have died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For ye have brought us forth into this wilderness, to kill this whole assembly with hunger.
So that's what they're going to say again, man. You brought us out of here to kill us, man. We used to eat good in slavery. I used to love being a slave. They call that Stockholm Syndrome. You want to flee back to your slave master.
Yeah.
You just got delivered out of slavery. Now you want to go back into slavery.
Yeah, my master had it good for us.
Right, man. And then you were scoffing and murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. You're going to have the same scoffers in the modern wilderness. All right, so let's go to the book of Psalms chapter 74 and 12. All right, but the Lord is going to the Lord is going to punish those scoffers and scorners in the wilderness. Yahweh Shai himself going to put those wicked men to death in the wilderness, but the righteous is going to satisfy their hunger by feeding them. But are you going to have manna in the second wilderness? No, but it is a miraculous thing for you to see bread coming down from heaven. It's going to be another miraculous form of what you're going to eat in the second wilderness. But let's show you what you're going to be eating. Psalms chapter 74 and 12. This is what you're going to be eating in the second wilderness. Psalms chapter 74 and 12. You're not going to be eating manna. I'm going to break it down. Psalm 74 and 12.
Psalms chapter 74 verse 12. For God is my king of old, working salvation in the midst of the earth. Thou didst divide the sea by thy strength. Thou breakest the heads of the dragons in the waters. Thou breakest the head of the heads of Leviathan in pieces.
Thou breakest the heads of Leviathan in pieces. Leviathan is an actual creature.
And gavest him to be meat.
Gavest him to be what?
To be meat.
To be meat.
To the people inhabiting the wilderness.
Read that again.
14. Thou breakest the heads of Leviathan in pieces, and gavest
Leviathan,
and gavest him to be meat,
to be food,
to the people inhabiting the wilderness.
So the Israelites in the wilderness, the Lord is going to give you something to eat. What is he going to give you to eat? He's going to give you Leviathan. He's going to break Leviathan in pieces and gave his him to be meat to the people inhabiting the wilderness. All right, let's get another precept to show you that. Let's go to the book of 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter.
You gotta be good.
2nd Ezra. Oh, this don't have it. Does this have the Apocrypha? Man, hold on one second. 2nd Ezra 6 and 48. I don't even know what I just typed in. Hold on. All right, let me read it from this. Hold on. 2nd Ezra 6. And another precept to show you about Leviathan. 48.
For the 2nd Ezra chapter 6 verse 48. For the dumb water and without life brought forth living things at the commandment of God, that all people might praise thy wondrous works.
Right.
Then didst thou ordain two living creatures, the one thou calledest Enoch, and the other Leviathan.
Right. The Lord made man. The Lord also made Behemoth, and he made Leviathan. Go on.
And didst separate the one from the other for the seventh part, namely where the water was gathered together might not hold them both.
Right.
Unto Enoch thou gavest one part which was dried up the third day,
It's about man. Go on.
that he should dwell in the same part, wherein are 1,000 hills.
Right.
But unto Leviathan
But unto Leviathan,
thou gavest the seventh part,
talking about the water, the seventh part represents the water. Read on.
namely the moist,
Right. The moist is the water.
and has kept him
Has kept Leviathan.
to be devoured, of whom thou wilt and when.
The Lord has kept Leviathan to be devoured, of whom thou wilt and when. What does that mean? The Lord is restoring Leviathan to be devoured of a certain people when the Lord will. It says, but unto Leviathan thou gavest the seventh part, namely the moist, and has kept him to be devoured of whom thou wilt and when. Alright? Now, go to the book of Job, chapter 40. Job, chapter 40. Let's show you about Leviathan. Alright? Is Leviathan a clean animal? Let's read it. Job, chapter 40. Was that 41? I believe Leviathan is Job 41. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Alright, Job 41. Yeah, read one.
Job chapter 41 verse 1. Canst thou draw out Leviathan with an hook, or his tongue with a cord, which thou lettest down? Canst thou put an hook into his nose, or bore his jaw through with a thorn?
Alright, jump to 14.
Verse 14.
So this whole chapter is about Leviathan has power. How no man can take him down.
Who can open the doors of his face? His
Talking about
teeth,
his mouth. Doors of your face is your mouth.
his teeth are terrible round about.
Right, he got them round teeth like a piranha. Go on.
His scales are his pride.
So he got scales. His scales are his pride.
Shut up together as with a closed seal.
So Leviathan got scales. Now the scriptures don't say if he got fins or not. But if you live in the water and you got scales, more than likely you got fins. I can't think of a creature that has scales but no fins in the water. Right? Do creatures have, you know, if a creature got scales and no fins in the water?
Not that I know of.
Not that I know of. You can have fins and no scales, but if you got scales, you more than likely you got fins. So Leviathan, he has scales, so more than likely he has fins.
Because the Most High not going to make us to eat an unclean animal.
Right. Now from there, let's go to the book of, try and zoom through this. Jeremiah 23 and 1. Alright, we got about 10 more. I said that before, but I'm trying to shorten it down. Jeremiah 23 and 1. So we got the covenant with the beasts of the field. We're going to have scoffers and scorners in the wilderness. You got what you're going to be eating in the wilderness. You're not going to have manna, but you're going to have Leviathan. Jeremiah 23 and 1. I don't even know. Let's read that. Go on, you can read it.
We'll be into the passage.
Yeah.
Jeremiah chapter 23 verse 1. Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, saith the Lord.
Right, talking about false prophets and then Joel Osteen and what's some false prophets? I'm about to say
Creflo Dollar.
Creflo Dollar. Eddie Long just died. Your neighborhood church pastor. All these false prophets, man. Warn to these, man. You have wicked Israelite false pastors. Go on.
Therefore, thus saith the Lord, God of Israel, against the pastors that feed my people.
Are you feeding the people with false philosophies and false doctrine and breaking down the scriptures to them in lies?
Yea, have scattered my flock and driven them away, and have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you the evil of your doings, saith the Lord.
Right?
And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries.
Talking about the deliverance out of all countries.
Whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their fold.
To the land of Israel.
And they shall be fruitful and increase.
Right?
And I will set up shepherds over them.
Shepherds are leaders. You're going to have the chief shepherd, the chief shepherd, which is Yahushua. Then you're going to have King David on the earth. And then you're going to have different leaders, which are the 12 apostles and the rest of the 144,000. Those are the shepherds that the Lord is going to set up over us. Now we'll set up shepherds over them,
which shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, neither shall they be lacking, saith the Lord.
Right. So the Lord's going to set up leaders in the wilderness. And the first wilderness, the Lord used Jethro, which was the father-in-law of Moses, to set up judges over 50 and judges over 1,000 and judges over 10,000. And the chief of the matters and problems They went directly to Moses. All right. That's where Esau get his system of a circuit court, a district court, a Supreme Court from. They got that from the scriptures. You got levels of judgment. You're going to have levels of judgment that's going to be instituted in the wilderness. You're going to have, like I said, Yahushua, King David. You got the 12 apostles. Then you're going to have different leaders and governors and princes. These are going to be known as the shepherds, and they're going to have to get the rest of the Israelites in order. You had that in the first wilderness. You had the prince, you had the princes of Issachar, the princes of Judah, and so forth and so on. You're going to have the same thing in the second wilderness. All right, let's go to the book of 1 Peter 5:1 about the shepherds. 1 Peter, actually go to Jeremiah 3:14. Jeremiah chapter 3:14. All right. Jeremiah chapter 3:14. We're going to read this as it is written and keep it in context.
Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 14.
Right?
Turn, O backsliding children, saith the Lord, for I am married unto you, and I will take you of one of a city,
I'll take you one of a city,
and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion.
Right, the Lord's not taking your whole family. He only taking a remnant of them. Go on.
And I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding.
Right, so the Lord's going to set up those, that's talking about now, and when the Lord sets us up, he's going to set up governors and leaders up there in the wilderness and in the kingdom. You're going to have a body government. Like Esau has a government. He has the presidents and delegates and the legislative branch, executive branch. We're going to have our own government, man. Where do you think Esau got his idea of government from? He got that from the scriptures. Because we had a government in the wilderness. You had a chief judge in the wilderness. You understand? If somebody went off, you put them in hold, like in a little prison. Said judgment was executed for them. So you're going to have the same thing being established in the wilderness. We're establishing the kingdom and order and who's going to do what role and what's going to happen. All right. Zechariah 12 tells you that you're going to have governors. You understand? Ezekiel, the latter chapters tell you that you're going to have princes. You have governors and princes and rulers over Israel. You're going to have regular Israelites. You understand? They're just, least of the kingdom Israelites. Then you have elite Israelites. There's going to be levels and order. Even though all Israel is going to be in the kingdom, it's going to be order and class. Like any kingdom. Then you have servants and slaves. All right. From there, let's go to the book of 1 Peter 5:1. All right. 1 Peter chapter 5:1. Slakia. Oh my goodness. You can just read it. 1 Peter 5:1.
1 Peter chapter 5, verse 1. The elders which are among you I exhort, who am also an elder.
Right, Peter's exhorting all of the elders because he's an elder. Go on.
And a witness of the sufferings of Christ, and also a partaker of the glory that shall be revealed. Feed the flock of God, which is among you.
Right, like the Lord said in the Proverbs, he said, be diligent to know the state of your flock and look well to thy herds. So when you feed the flock, you break down the scriptures to them. So right now we feed in the flock. We're breaking down precept upon precept about what's going to take place in the wilderness, what's going to be in the wilderness, and what's going to go down in the wilderness. So we're feeding the flock. The Lord told us to feed the flock of God, which is among you. Go on.
Taking the oversight thereof.
Right, taking control.
Not by a constraint, but willingly.
Right, but willingly.
Not for filthy lucre,
not for money,
but of a ready mind.
Go on.
Neither as being lords over God's heritage, but being examples to the flock.
Go on.
And when the chief shepherd.
So you're going to have actual shepherds, but you're going to have the chief shepherd, which is Yahushua. So Jeremiah 23:4 says he's going to set up shepherds in Israel in the wilderness, but then you're going to have the chief shepherd, which is Yahushua. And when the chief shepherd shall appear,
ye shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away.
So you're going to have that chief shepherd, Yahushua, that king. All right, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. Go to the book of Psalms 80:1. Psalms chapter 80:1. All right, so we're talking about the order that's going to be established. You're going to have judges and leaders and elders. You understand? The elect, the ancients. All right? You have the prophets like Abraham. Abraham is not going to be in the same level as an ordinary Israelite, man. You're going to have levels in the kingdom. Psalms 80:1.
Give ear, O shepherd of Israel.
The shepherd of Israel is Yahushua.
Thou that leadest Joseph like a flock. Thou that dwellest between the cherubims shine forth.
It's talking about Yahweh Shai, because when they made the Ark of the Covenant, you had the cherubim on one side, and symmetrical, you had the other cherubim on the other side, and you had the mercy seat, which symbolized Yahweh Shai between the two cherubims. Because up there in the heavens, Yahweh Shai, he dwells between two cherubims. So when they built the Ark of the Covenant, it's a physical monument representing Yahweh Shai. So in the mercy seat, when you made atonement for your sins, that's symbolic for Yahweh Shai making atonement for your sins, because everything that happened in the wilderness was a similitude of Yahweh Shai himself. That serpent being made of brass, right, being lifted up, heals you. That's Yahweh Shai. He tell you that in John 3:14 on down to 16. Even Esau, that serpent, they use that for the hospitals and for ambulances. That symbolizes Yahweh Shai. That rock gushing out of water that Moses hit, that symbolizes Yahweh Shai. That rock that issues out that living water. All right. That manna, that bread represented Yahweh Shai. All right. That Ark of the Covenant represented Yahweh Shai. They are all a shadow of things to come. All right. So he's the chief shepherd. All right. From there, let's go to the book of Ezekiel chapter 34 and 26. Ezekiel 34 and 26. All right. So we're breaking down this wilderness for you, man. You should be taking some notes. Ezekiel 34 and 26. This is a topic that Jake really don't go into. All right, let's read that. We're going to read 26 down to 29.
Ezekiel chapter 34, verse 26.
Or you're just going to read 26 and 27. Or 28. Just read down to 28.
And I will make them and the places round about my hill a blessing, and I will cause the shower to come down in his season. There shall be showers of blessing,
Right?
and the tree of the field shall yield her fruit.
Right, because we're going to plant those trees. We read you that in the scriptures. We're going to plant them vines and sow vineyards and plant trees, and it's going to yield their fruit. Go on.
And the earth shall yield her increase.
Right, it's not going to take, sometimes you plant a tree, it may take like 8 months for that tree to grow. The Lord's going to have those trees prosper and grow in due season, because the Lord doesn't deal with time. All right, go on.
And they shall be safe in their land, and shall know that I am the Lord, when I have broken the bands of their yoke, and delivered them out of the land of those that serve them.
The hand of those that serve them.
The hand of those that serve themselves of them. And they shall,
Yeah.
and they shall no more be a prey to the heathen, neither shall the beasts of the land devour them, but they shall dwell safely, and none shall make them afraid.
Right, we read about the beasts of the field not going to be able to devour us due to that contract of covenant the Lord is going to restore with them. All right? And we're telling you about the trees and the plants and how that land is going to blossom and flourish as it was as the Garden of Eden. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 13 and 20. One more scripture on Yahweh Shai being that chief shepherd. Hebrews chapter 13 and 20. All right. Hebrews 13 and 20.
Hebrews chapter 13, verse 20. Now the God of peace, that brought again from the dead our Lord Yahushua, that great shepherd of the sheep, through the blood of this everlasting covenant.
Showing that Yahweh Shai, he's the chief shepherd amongst the sheep. Just one more precept. Now let's go to Ezekiel 20 and 33. So you're going to have that chief shepherd, Yahweh Shai, but you're going to have minor shepherds under him in the wilderness being established. Everybody's going to get their rank and order. Everybody's going to know who they were in their past life. Everybody's going to get that hidden manna and understand what your role was on the earth. Barakatah. Ezekiel 20 and 33. Now we're getting down to the truth. All right, getting down to the what they say, the nitty gritty.
Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 33.
Right?
As I live, saith the Lord God, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm and with fury poured out will I rule over you.
Right, I just read that in Micah 7 in the beginning. It said, feed thy people with thy rod, meaning rule over them. He's going to rule over us with fury. All right, he's not going to rule over us and say, hey guys, here's the kingdom. Let's do what you want to do. You understand? Here goes some marbles, some jacks, and here's the scriptures, and here you guys can just do what you want to do.
Have at it.
Yeah, just have at it. Be free. Do as thou wilt.
I was about to say that.
Come as you are. The Lord not going to do that. He's going to rule over us with fury and anger because he has to establish a government, weed out the people that's going to die in the wilderness, teach the commandments, to show us his the new covenant. All of these things are going to take place. All right, the hidden manna, that white stone, all of those things are going to transpire. Go on.
34. And I will bring you out from the people, and will gather you out of the countries wherein ye are scattered, with a mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face.
So we're actually going to see Yahawashi face to face. Right now we only see him through the book. Give me the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and 12 real quick. 1 Corinthians 13 and 12. So Yahawashi said we're going to see him face to face. We had our first mediator, Moses, we saw face to face. The second mediator, the Lord from heaven, Yahawashi, we're going to see him face to face. He's an austere man. He's a mean man. He's not going to be cracking jokes and smiling in the wilderness. That's the time to get the nation in order. All right? As the judge, as so are his officers. What's the scripture? What I say?
1 Corinthians 13 and 12.
1 Corinthians, I like the scripture too. 1 Corinthians 13 and 12. All right, go on.
For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face.
But then what?
Face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know, even as also I am known.
Right. So the Lord said in the wilderness, we're going to see him face to face. In 1 Corinthians 13 and 12, Paul said, for now we see through a glass darkly. The glass is his Bible. You understand? You see through it darkly because you can't see everything. You don't know the complete Yahawashi. You're only looking at him through pages of a book because he's the word. You don't have all of the understanding and all of the mysteries, and you can't physically see Yahawashi himself. You're dealing with the spirit of Yahawashi. That's how you see through the glass darkly, because you can't fully understand.
So you can't have 100% truth.
Right, because you're looking through the glass darkly. It's like you look through the window. You know, you look through a window and you cuff it around your eyes, and you looking through it. You can't see everything.
Yeah.
You can see a little bit of things. You can try to break it down to somebody as best as you can, but you don't see. But when you actually walk inside, you can write a whole book on what you see and break it down. So right now we're looking through Yahawashi darkly, but it says what? But then what? But then face to face. So it's not going to be darkly in the wilderness. We're going to see him face to face. We're going to see Yahawashi as he is. It says, now I know in part. So what do you mean you know in part? Meaning you only know the scriptures according to the wisdom that the Most High gave you. You don't have the complete understanding of the Bible. Nobody does. It says what? But then shall I know, even as also I am known. What does that mean? Then you're going to know this complete truth. You're going to know the same complete truth the same way that the Lord knows you. All right? That's self-explanatory. The Lord knows you inside and out. That's the same way you're going to know Yahawashi and know this word. That's what it means. Then shall I know, even as also I am known. Because you're known of Yahawashi and completeness. That's the same way you're going to be able to see through this glass clearly. That's what what they say in Ezekiel, you're going to see face to face. Let's go back to that. Ezekiel chapter 20. All right, hold on. Let me. Oh man, I did something again. Hold on. Ezekiel chapter 20, and we just at 36. Hold on, let me make sure that's what I want. Read 36 again. 35.
And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face.
All right, now go to Zechariah 12 and 10. Another precept for seeing Yahawashi face to face. All right, I almost forgot that one. Zechariah chapter 12 and 10. All right, Zechariah, because Yahawashi is physically going to be there in the wilderness. Let's read it.
Zechariah chapter 12, verse 10. And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplications. And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced.
They shall what?
And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced.
Right, we're going to look upon you because we actually pierced him. We delivered him up. That's what it's saying. We're going to look upon him whom we have pierced. And in the same way he appeared before the 12 apostles with the holes in his hand and all of that, that's the same way we're going to see Yahawashi. All right? That's why I said in Isaiah 53, there is no beauty that we should desire in him. Because we're going to see him when he came, the way he got crucified. All right? And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced.
And they shall mourn for him, as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him, as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn.
So it's not going to be a joyous occasion in the wilderness. You're going to be mourning.
Yeah.
It's going to be a mean time. It's not going to be a time to turn up in the wilderness. It's going to be a time to get in order. Get your life. You better get it together now. You understand? You're at that grace period in Babylon the Great, but now it's about to go down. You're not going to be dealing with grace in the wilderness. You're going to get it. You better get it together now, or that's it. You're going to be mourning. You're going to look at Yahushua. He's going to look at you. You're going to be crying. You're going to bow down to him. You understand? Read on.
Verse
11.
In that day shall there be a great mourning in Jerusalem,
Talking about the people.
as the mourning of
Hadadrimmon.
in the valley of Megiddo.
Megiddo. Because when Josiah died in the valley of Megiddo, when he went to try to kill the king of Pharaoh, there was a great mourning when he died. Go on. So it's going to be that same great mourning for Josiah. Even greater, we're going to have when we see Yahushua.
And the land shall mourn, every family apart.
So all Israel's going to be crying and mourning. Go on.
The family of the house of David apart, and their wives apart.
And the women going to be crying.
The family of the house of Nathan apart, and their wives apart.
So Nathan's coming back on the earth in that lot.
The family of the house of Levi apart, and their wives apart. The family of Shimei apart, and their wives apart.
Right. So the whole family, the whole nation of Israel is going to be mourning and crying when they see Yahushua, man. It's not going to be a pleasant sight. You're not going to run up and give Yahushua a damn dap him up and hug and all of that and
Shalom, brother.
yeah, shalom. It's not going to be. It's going to be. Hey, this is it, man. You understand? Like tryouts on the basketball team, your coach going to be austere. You understand? You don't make it, you cut.
I was about to say, it's like right now, it's like a little quiz, pre-quizzes. And,
Right. That's where you got
tests.
grace.
I mean, and then you got the real test in the wilderness.
Right. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 72 and 9. Psalm 72 and 5. 1. 72 and 1. All right, so he's showing you about seeing Yahushua face to face in the wilderness. All right, Psalms chapter 72 and 1. All right, now when you read this, it says a psalm for Solomon. Right, so this whole psalm is dedicated to King Solomon, but you're going to find out that this is really talking about Yahushua because Yahushua is Solomon. Go on.
Psalms of Solomon. Psalms chapter 72, verse 1. Give the king thy judgment, O God, and thy righteousness unto the king's son.
This is talking about Yahushua. Read on.
He shall judge thy people with righteousness, and thy poor with judgment. The mountains shall bring peace to the people, and the little hills by righteousness.
Right.
He shall judge the poor of the people. He shall save the children of the needy, and shall break in pieces the oppressor.
Talking about Esau.
They shall fear thee as long as the sun and moon endure throughout all generations.
Right.
He shall come down like rain upon the mown grass, as showers that water the earth. In his days shall the righteous flourish, in abundance of peace so long as the moon endureth.
Right. Righteousness is going to endure forever because Yahushua, he's the king of righteousness. He was Melchizedek, Malak Tazadok, king of righteousness, or Malak Shalom, which means the king of peace. That's why the abundance of peace is going to endure as long as the moon endureth. It's the same way the moon endures. It's the same way that peace is going to endure. Peace on the earth, and also peace between the nation of Israel and the Heavenly Father. Go on. That's why he's the Prince of Peace in Isaiah the 9th chapter.
Shalakia, he shall have dominion also from sea to sea, and from the river unto the ends of the earth.
So you know this is not talking about Solomon, as it says in the beginning right here, a song for Solomon, because Solomon did not have dominion from sea to sea and from the ends of the earth. But Yahushua, he's going to have dominion from sea to sea and from the river unto the ends of the earth. Go on.
They shall dwell in
They that
dwell in the wilderness shall bow before him.
What did the Lord say?
They that dwell in the wilderness
So the Israelites that dwell in the wilderness
shall bow before him.
So Solomon wasn't in the wilderness. So we know it's not talking about Solomon. It says, they that dwell in the wilderness shall bow before him. So you're going to physically bow down before Yahushua the King. Don't it say that in Philippians, that at the name of Yahushua every knee shall bow? Even the angels? Right? Even the demons bow down before Yahushua. The Israelites, we're going to bow down before Yahushua. Read it again now.
They that dwell in the wilderness shall bow before him, and his enemies shall lick the dust.
Right, meaning they're going into captivity. And his enemies going to lick the dust of our feet too, because we're joint heirs with Yahushua in the kingdom. We're going to have to bow down before him in the wilderness and be obedient unto the laws that he enforces on us. So from there, let's go back to Ezekiel 20. All right, Ezekiel 20 and 33. Got two more. Ezekiel chapter 20 and 33, or wherever you left off. Read 35 again.
20 and 35.
Is that where we left off? Yeah, 35 one more time.
Ezekiel chapter 20 verse 35. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt. So will I plead with you, saith the Lord God.
Right.
And I
plead with you mean he gonna deal with you, man. And get numbers. Actually, read on.
14.
Let's read on.
And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant.
So what does it mean he's going to plead with us as he pleaded with our fathers? The same way the Lord dealt with us in the wilderness is the same way he's going to deal with us again. Get where it says, I will cause you to pass under the rod. Go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 27 and 32. Leviticus chapter 27 and 32. When you have sheep and you allow them to pass under the rod, a shepherd, you count the sheep one by the rod. You understand? And at the end of the night, the sheep enter into the fold. But the bad sheep that have things wrong with them, you set them by the side. So when the Lord allows the Israelites to pass under the rod, the good sheep are going to pass into the kingdom or pass into that everlasting life. And the wicked sheep that are rebellious, they're going to be set aside. That's what it means. He's going to allow us to pass under the rod and bring us into the bond of the covenant. And the bond of that covenant is the new covenant that you read about in Hebrews, the 8th chapter. And Jeremiah was at 31. All right, read that.
Leviticus chapter 27,
32.
32. And concerning the tithe of the herd or of the flock, even of whatsoever passeth under the rod, the 10th shall be holy unto the Lord.
Read it again.
And concerning the tithe of the herd or of the flock, even of whatsoever passeth under the rod, the 10th shall be holy unto the Lord.
So whatever passed under the rod, it will be holy unto the Lord, the 10th of that. So the Lord is going to use Israel, and we're the sheep, and he's the shepherd. And then we're going to pass under that rod, meaning we're going to get corrected. You understand? We're going to get reproved. We're going to be taught the laws and commandments. And those that survive that, and those that accept that, and that are down with that, they're going to pass under the rod and be allowed to get that everlasting life and new covenant. But those that are not selected, they're going to be set aside to be destroyed. All right, those that are selected, they're going to get the bonds of that new covenant. Because you're going to have certain Israelites that's not down with the program. That's what the Lord is going to say what he says in the next verse. Read 38. That's why 37 and Ezekiel 20:37 says the same thing in Micah 7 and 14. Feed thy people with thy rod, meaning rule over them. He said, I'm going to rule over you with fury and anger.
Ezekiel chapter 20 verse 38. And I will purge out from among you the rebels.
Right, you're going to have people rebelling against the Lord in the wilderness.
And them that transgress against
people are still going to be going off against the Lord because they're not going to have the law, statutes, and commandments in the inward parts. So they're still going to be in that nature. Go on.
I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn.
Meaning you may get delivered out of the land that you at.
And they shall not enter into the land of Israel. And ye shall know that I am the Lord.
Right, meaning you're not going to enter, meaning you're not going to make it. You're going to give up the ghost. You're going to get put to death. So the Lord is going to have people in the wilderness that's not going to survive. Go to the book of Numbers, chapter 14. Let me see what I want, though. Let's give you an example of people not entering into the land. Numbers 14. And, let me see. Let's lock it, Israel. Bear with me 1 second. All right, it started. Hold on. Man, what scripture is that? Well, it started. I had it written down. Hold on, Israel. Bear with me 1 second. Numbers. All right, just read 14 and 1.
Numbers chapter 14 verse 1.
No, actually jump to I'm sorry, jump to what do I want to start? I don't want to read this whole chapter. Jump to 20.
Verse 20. And the Lord
It's an example of Israel rebelling in the wilderness.
And the Lord said, I have pardoned according to thy word. But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord. Because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice. Surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoke me see it.
So that's the same thing in Ezekiel. He said, you should not enter into the land of Israel, meaning you're not going to see that kingdom prosper. You're going to die in the wilderness. The same men that died in that ancient wilderness, man, who saw the miracles. They saw the bread come down from heaven. They saw the chariot over them. They saw the pillar of light, you understand, and the cloud by day and the fire by night. All right, they saw the Red Sea get parted. They saw the firstborn get destroyed in Egypt and all the plagues and water come out of the rock and all of the other miracles, man. But yet they rebelled against the Lord in the wilderness. Ecclesiastes 1:9, it says, the thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done it is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. So those same people are going to come back in the second wilderness and do the same thing all over again and die. They got delivered out. Just because you get delivered don't mean you completely made it. Look what happened during the time of Moses.
Yeah, the precept.
All right, bring it up.
Deuteronomy chapter 4 verse 21. Furthermore, the Lord was angry with me for your sakes, and sware that I should not go over Jordan, and that I should not go in unto that good land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. But I must die in this land. I must not go over Jordan, but ye shall go over and possess that good land.
Right, so Moses wasn't allowed to enter into the promised land. He died in the wilderness. And that's Moses, a man of God. All right? He the one that delivered Israel through the Spirit. All right, let's go to Ezekiel 20 and 13. Start at 12. Let's give you another example of Israel rebelling in the wilderness.
Ezekiel chapter 20 verse 13. But the house of Israel rebelled against me in the wilderness.
Read that again.
But the house of Israel rebelled against me in the wilderness. They walked not in my statutes, and they despised my judgments, which if
a man
do, he shall even live in them. And my Sabbaths they greatly polluted. Then I said I would pour out my fury upon them in the wilderness to consume them.
That's the same thing we read in the latter verses of this chapter. The Lord is going to pour his fury upon us to consume us. Go on.
But I wrought for my name's sake that it should not be polluted before the heathen, in whose sight I brought them out. Yet also I lifted up my hand unto them in the wilderness.
I lifted up my hand to them in the wilderness,
that I would not bring them into the land which I had given them, flowing with milk and honey, which is the glory of the land of all lands.
Right, so that's what's going to happen, man. The Lord is going to have people die out in the wilderness the same way he had people die out in the ancient wilderness. He said, I lifted up my hand unto them in the wilderness, that I would not bring them into the land which I have given them. Although they got delivered out of the captivity, they perished in the wilderness because of unbelief and they lack of faith in Yahushua.
Because they despised my judgments.
That's why they died, because they despised his judgments.
And walked not in my statutes, but polluted my Sabbaths. For their heart went after their own idols. Salakia went after their idols. Nevertheless, mine eye spared them from destroying them, neither did I make an end of them in the wilderness.
Because there was a remnant, Joshua and Caleb, and that following generation entered into the promised land. Not all of Israel died in the wilderness. So in the second wilderness, not all of Israel is going to die. Just a few of them that rebel and transgress. Children are going to be false prophesying. People are going to be wicked. People are going to have to put their children to death. When you read Zechariah, all hell is going to be breaking loose. All right, let's go to the book of, is that it? Let's go to the book of Hebrews 8 and 6. Actually, let's go to Ezekiel 13 and 9. All right, because it said they shall not enter into that land. Ezekiel chapter 13 and 9. You can read it from here.
Ezekiel chapter 13, verse 9. And mine hand shall be upon the prophets that see vanity, and that divine lies. They shall not be in the assembly of my people, neither shall they be written in the writing of the houses of Israel, neither shall they enter into the land of Israel.
So when you read about people not entering into the land of Israel, that means they're going to die. So in Ezekiel it said, I will bring them forth out of the countries where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. So when it says in the scriptures that you're not going to enter into that land, it means you're going to die. Go on.
And ye shall know that I am the Lord God.
Now let's close out with let's go to Hebrews chapter 8 and 6. So what's going to be given to you in the new covenant, the wilderness, is this new covenant. Hebrews chapter 8 and start at 6.
Hebrews chapter 8 verse 6.
Yeah.
But now he hath obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises.
Right, so the first covenant was faulty, you understand, through animal sacrifice, right? But the better covenant is through Yahweh Shai, who constantly makes atonement for your sins, and the laws are going to be your inward part, and you're not going to sin. Go on.
For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second.
Right.
For finding fault with them,
with the Israelites,
he said, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their minds, into their mind, and write them in their hearts. And I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more. In that he saith, A new covenant he hath made the first old. Now that which decayeth and waxeth old is ready to vanish away.
Right, so the Lord is going to teach Israel that new covenant, but like the scripture says, certain people are going to rebel and transgress against that. Same thing that happened in the ancient wilderness. You can read about that in like I said, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. People rebelling and trying to have preeminence over Moses, and scoffers and scorners. Same dynamic is going to be in the modern wilderness. All right, so this has just been a quick breakdown, breaking down where it's going to be at. Let's bring out the location again. All right, we give you the location of northern Israel right here. The land is going to be made desolate due to the battle of Armageddon and World War III. It's going to be made a desert land, but the Lord is going to place us in this land and restore it back as it was in the days of old. All right, another map. You got Lebanon, Mount Carmel, Bashan and Gilead over here, northern part of Israel. Eventually, the whole land is going to be built up. All right, another map. All right, Akor over here, plain of Sharon, Mount Carmel, Gilead, Bashan, same thing over again. All right, another elevated map. If you need to see, you can look these things up. All right, what's this right here? Another map. All right, Gilead. Right, Gilead, Bashan right here. All right, upon these mountains right here. Akor, all right, northern part of Israel. Gilead, Ramoth Gilead. All right, this is where Israel is going to be at, where that wilderness, this region right here. Upon the mountains and rivers. Yahushua is going to be there. The princes and the kings are going to be there. The 12 apostles are going to be there. All right, it's going to be a hard time for Israel. So this has just been Brother Nakwan coming back at you with these precepts.
Brother Yara done too.
And another breakdown, we're going to bid you shalom.
Shalom.